welcome back to Aston Martin and F1 Manager 2022 here. A good third into the season in 2023 now, Azerbaijan. Ignore the big... Well, you can't see them on this particular one, but there's big angry marks underneath me right now because we haven't got any chassis. But the good news is there's a chassis incoming, a new version, which we will have to develop 4 of on emergency because the race is the next day. But that's about it for big news. Right, this would have been great to have known, 4 days ago. All right, we can rush to, they'll get there in time. That's fine. Okay. But I wouldn't have needed to rush them if you told me immediately. All right, then there's the chassis. And because we need these tomorrow, it's going to be expensive, but we need them in now. I mean, we're still not above the average in anything other than low speed. In fact, somehow we've gone backwards in acceleration. So other people have made improvements in acceleration, or DRS acceleration in particular. I mean, what a boost that chassis was. I need to do the preview. I think we can get both into Q2, which is effectively what I'm going to just pop in here. Finish position, I can't do anything about. I'm not going to put in fastest lap, even though we have had 2 fastest laps this season so far. I'm not going to do it because the race may not fold out that way. Now, I'm guessing that's saying we've already had 1 out of all of these so far. We've succeeded with 1 and now we're just continuing and I can't do anything about those. So I will now see you for qualifying then. So, a curious set of practices once again. Mixed times are not representative because, well, he span and broke the back end of the car. So I think that might be one rear wing used up, and it also broke his gearbox to the degree where he can still use it, but now it's unusable from this point onwards. It was fine to use for the rest of practice, but I can't use it for a race, basically. Whereas Pierre was crashed into by George Russell. Just the second time that Pierre's been taken out so far since we've hired him. But at least this time it's in a practice session, and George gets a penalty for it. And thankfully, it didn't break any fundamental parts of Pierre's car like the gearboxing, because we can't afford Pierre losing another gearbox at this point. The one thing that does concern me about Pierre is that he's sick, ahead of both Mercs, whose best times were on soft tyres as well. But Valtteri Bottas has found an alarming amount of speed out of nowhere. I won't be surprised if this is our top 10 at the end of qualifying. The good news is, despite both of them sort of sitting out a good third of one session, have managed to get 100% acclimatization on both of them, and therefore 15 out of 15. It's a long lap. I'm sending my guys out immediately, but it's obviously the second lap that matters more. So because it's a longer lap, I'm imagining drivers will start coming around not too long after 4 minutes. The way things stand, Pierre 7th, Mick 12th. Now, I don't think Albon's done his best lap there, because he probably should be faster than Doohan, although Doohan has pretty routinely out-qualified Albon, even if Albon's race pace has seemed to have been better over time. The McLaren's surprisingly far down the order. I don't think that's hindering. I think that might just be legitimately a poor car now. And I don't know what Stroll is actually capable of here. Oh, I should say Stroll crashed in practice as well, because of course he did. But you can see now with functioning parts in Mick's car, he's done a much better lap. I think we do need to get Mick out second. There's an Alpine still just coming back in. Where are the cars? Probably about the 320 mark, I would imagine. There we go. So there's one Ferrari. In fact, this is a tricky one to spot because we're looking the wrong way. Verstappen's out. Perez is out. Is the other Ferrari out? It is. Right. Gasly out. As soon as Gasly's out, we send Schumi out. And we've got a completely different angle now, which would have been better to have had before. Gasly's still not out. Having to wait for an AlphaTauri now. Having to wait for both AlphaTauris now because why wouldn't we? We'll make sure Schumi's the one directly behind Pierre, just so there's no other slow cars interjecting, as they often do, because somehow they manage to do it, but we can't. In fact, on board with Mick, of course, for his flying lap to see if he can get through. He's got a buffer of 3 cars behind him already. This is one of the rare occasions where a Williams hasn't gone out sort of farther up the order. Both of them are behind us. Everyone's across the line fine, but the majority of this field has Noah's Ark its way out here. There's both Alfa Romeos at the front, both Haas's at the back, both Williams before them, both of our cars are next, and then it's both AlphaTauris ahead of us, both Red Bulls are next to each other. It's only really the McLarens, the Alpines, and the Ferraris that have cars between them, and the Mercs. But even the Ferraris only have 1 Merc between them, and both Alpines only have 1 McLaren between them. So the majority of cars have kind of come out together, which is quite unusual. But we can have a look at the sector times. Mixed on a faster first sector, which is always nice. Gasly hasn't, but it doesn't really matter. For him, he's a lot further up the order. They'd have to gain a full second. Like a full sort of 9 cars would have to find a full second to get Gasly in trouble. And Stroll's across the line into 15th. So that's 1 car already behind Mick for certain. We'd have to assume both Williams will be by the end of all this. Daniel Rick barely improves. That's 2 cars guaranteed to be behind Mick. So really, we only have to worry about Albon, Vettel and Magnussen and Norris. Now, all 4 of them would probably have to go better than Mick. Norris doesn't go faster than Stroll. That McLaren is just terrible, and once again interrupted by that nonsense. Albon did improve, but so did Doohan. I don't think Gasly improved by much if he did. I think he did improve, but not by much. Mick didn't go ahead of the Alpha Tauris. Someone's got... Magnussen's done an unbelievable lap there. This puts Stroll in the bottom 5, and Vettel gets through as well. Magnussen just came out of nowhere to do a 143.2. He was very much in the bottom. His original lap must have been a 144 something. That is quite surprising. Choco and Yu out-qualified Danny Rick as well. That McLaren is awful. But both drivers through, so we do get that money at least. Now, of course, we're not really expecting Mick to get out of this session. Nor do I know who's done which lap on which tyre at this point. We use scrub tyres for both our drivers. Perez clearly has had some kind of issue as well, and Albon, judging by the 3 seconds, has had an issue somewhere too. I'm wondering for this particular session if it's more worth getting Mick out towards the front of the field just in case of the yellow flag incident. Wait, is that Alpine going out for an actual lap right now? Wait, why are people coming out now? Why are the people coming out a full 30 seconds earlier? I'm so confused. Oh, that very much stymies my idea of getting Mick out ahead. Well, I'm going to get him up further up the order at least, if I can. If I can get Gasly to be the one directly behind. Okay, so it's a Merc behind, which isn't too bad. I'm so confused by those people who went out miles ahead. Apart from Vettel, none of them are in danger to begin with if there's a yellow flag. Or a red flag or anything like that. Weird. That's the weird part of it. But we'll go on board with Gasly because I'm not 100% certain he's going to be safe here. I feel like he should be, but the fact that Bottas is more competitive here and you can never really count out the Alpines either. And Magnussen's doing weird madness things. Perez, of course, is outside the top 10 right now too, so I think he should be fine, but I'm concerned he's going to be tighter than I'd like it to be. Mick, I'm not confident in. He will get across the line before Gasly anyway. I'm so confused by those people who went early. Mick's done a faster first sector at least. Up the road. Is Gasly last on track? He might be last on track. He's looking at the back end of an Alpha Tower as well, so if there is a tow, he might catch that a little bit. Faster first sector for Gasly. Now see, that should be a first to fast sector because it is scrub tyres versus new tyres, whereas of course Q1 was 2 different sets of new tyres. I'm almost starting to consider using Gasly, like 1 set of tyres for both runs in Q1 for Gasly, and then using that same set for the first run in Q2 as well. So I save a set of softs in that respect, but both drivers going faster in both sectors. This is never not going to be annoying. I'm prepared to do that on Gasly. Doohan has crossed the line, gone better than Perez at least. Russell's not gone ahead of Gasly, so I think we're fine for Gasly then. Mick's up to 13th. He's beaten Vettel for now. I think he's actually technically just beaten Vettel full stop because Vettel just crossed the line with enough time to do another lap, which is why he's not been triggered as being flagged. Albon goes faster than Mick. Obviously, Perez is going to move up the order. That puts Ocon out of the top 10. There's an Alpine in the garage. One of them didn't come back out again. Weirdly. What's happened to Russell? Why is he so slow now? I mean, he might have slightly damaged his car when he crashed into Pierre, but he's not had the pace, really, for a little while. I think it might have been Alonso that didn't go back out again. Yeah, he only did 3 laps. Odd. I mean, he was fine, but odd. Okay, so everything's pretty much as is for the first round of things, although Russell, worst of all, is a slight surprise. Magnussen putting a blinder so far. I would expect Russell to get past Magnussen at least. Both Ferraris are already going. Interesting. They're 1 on 2 already. You'd think they'd wait. The Merc's going 2 by 2 as well. Of course, Bottas is the only Alfa Romeo. I'll just be last with Pierre in this case. I'm fine with 7th as is, so if there's an incident. 1 Red Bull, 2 Red Bull, go. I mean, everyone's got to cross the line with so much time to spare. But the actual flying lap for Pierre Gasly on the outboard using the television footage. Through the first sector, he goes down what is, I suppose, technically the first DRS zone of a particular lap, isn't it? I always find it weird, of course, because you always get that instinct to call the main straight DRS zone the first DRS zone, even though it's technically the end of the lap, mostly, usually. And then obviously, the second one here is like shortly afterwards, so your brain automatically goes, right, that's 1, then 2. But strictly speaking, it's the other way around. And they're the only 2 DRS zones on this track, of course, as well, because the rest of it is quite tight and twisty. As Crofty mentions in his intros. So, round Pierre goes. Sector 3 is kind of weird here because Sector 3 actually kind of just starts down here and is basically just the straight. Sector 3 begins there-ish. So you just have this corner and then the straights, effectively. That's all the Sector 3 is. So your Sector 3 time inherently is just entirely dependent on your top speed and your acceleration to that top speed. That's the only thing that really affects it, apart from just that tiny ability to get around that one corner. So Verstappen's taken the lead. See, I knew it was weird the Ferraris went first because it kind of gives the advantage to the Red Bulls there. to potentially go faster. Gasly does go faster, but it doesn't really make a difference. He's still 7th. And Russell didn't actually go ahead of Magnussen. That is a shock. Although, not going crazy, or the Mercs on top of each other. Yeah, Hamilton is like up the back of Russell. Russell's got to have had damage in this particular session because he is so much slower. Because the Ferraris crossed the line with a lap to go. There we go. Hey, Hamilton, do that. So Pierre at least was, marginally consistently faster. Alonso found a little bit more in the third qualifying too. But yeah, George was sort of alarmingly consistent. 196, 143, 196, 143, 195, 143, 193. That appears to be the maximum that car can do right now. So I suspect he's got damage. And he's got a penalty anyway. It's probably only 3 places, so annoyingly it probably won't promote Mick. We've already had a look at the reports. I kind of want to do soft hard, which is one of the options. Now, Mick can get away with it. I'm actually not certain Pierre would be able to get away with it even if he did have a fresh pair of softs, which Mick does, but Pierre doesn't. Just because it is borderline. But I do think that's probably the fastest one of the 3. I know it's saying the 2 stops faster. Oh, it's saying the 2 stops faster. I also think that starting on softs provides the best opportunity to react to situations, because you can always go on to the harder tyre if there's the early safety car. You would require a 2-stop, but you could always go on to the, the hards a few laps early and then go back onto softs at the very end and basically do this third strategy, but soften both sides. And you can see for Pierre, actually, that is borderline the other way. Now, just because I'm going to push him on the first lap as well, I'm just going to pull him back 1 lap. And weirdly for Pierre, it says that, but doing that is fine. I definitely think there's something wrong with the hard tyres in the estimated race times at the moment. It's not as drastic for this one. This one is actually only 10 seconds rather than minutes as it was in previous ones. I can't believe on that video the other day I mistook 8 seconds for 8 minutes or 4 minutes or whatever it was. And that one is only 1 second faster. But you can see we've pushed that back 1 lap. 1 more lap of hards took what? Although actually, weirdly for Pierre, it doesn't seem to make much difference. I wonder if that's because it knows the softs he would start with. Yeah, it's because the softs he starts with is 88% to begin with. That's what the difference is. Never mind. So yeah, medium hard for Pierre, soft hard for Mick. I think that's quite simple. We just go with regular fuel. We've pushed the first laps. It's probably going to cause a little bit of a problem for Mick, but I can probably just pull him in like 1 lap early and he'll still be okay on those hards. I just can't push them because he's typically quite good on his tyres. So you can probably outdo the regular. But yeah, we can only really push for like the first lap on both drivers, I would imagine. At the very least, it does separate them out when it comes to pitting them.
This is what you've been waiting for. It's the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it's lights out, and away we go.
But you can see the pair of Cognizants already apparently down to 99% tyres, because I just wonder if they can't do 100%. I don't think, maybe they didn't set these up to be on 100% ever. But how are we doing, Pierre? We are still 7th on the back of Hamilton. The Alpines have made a jump on Magnussen. Russell is down to 12th. What tyres did he start on? Mediums. Mick's got Doohan, I think, but we've not seen anything about that yet. Gasly's just taken Hamilton there into turn 3, I think that is. 4, he's pushed wide and loses the position temporarily, but he has got the inside. As we head into the section that leads to Castle itself. Hamilton on the inside for Castle, but Pierre's positioned himself to block that off. In fact, he's actually trying to position himself, so he's on the inside of Bottas. We'll rewatch that. Still not seeing any replay for how Mick got Doohan, but I imagine that might have just been off the line, so maybe it didn't track that too well. But Russell's had an incredibly poor start. He's down from 10th already. I do suspect he does have damage. That kind of confirms it, I think, is that poor start. And they'll return here. But yes, Mick up to 13th, directly behind Russell. You know, Mick Schumacher and George Russell. That's a combination that never goes wrong. But Pierre's still pushing. He's got Bottas in his sights. Can't really go too much harder on these tyres. And in fact, I'm almost tempted to pull them back immediately now. He's already got a second on Hamilton, which doesn't seem right. It wasn't right. Yeah, can't really do too much more on those tyres because we have to run them as long as possible. But it's kind of just sort of stay in touch. There's no DRS yet, so I can't imagine Pierre will go too much slower than Bottas, even on sort of even pace. In fact, no one's outside of a second of anyone just yet. No one fell out on the first lap alone. Mick's having a Russell is definitely broken right now. Because he's just overtaken without really any benefits on at all. And we rewatched that because we didn't kind of see it in full. We just caught the end of it. Just on the inside into turn 2. Quite a nice little move, all things considered. But yeah, Russell's just falling down the order now. In qualifying, it seemed like if they could just pull out one good lap, but in the race, on mediums as well, falling backwards. Of course, Mick's on the softs here, trying to make up as many positions as he can in the early stages of this race. Weirdly, Alonso is struggling to stay on the back of his teammate. Now, is that a tyre difference? It's a tyre difference. Ocon's on softs. Bottas is on used softs, which is interesting, so he'll be in first of all. And that's probably why Bottas's pace is quite solid here, but Gasly's still within 8/10. I might tell him to deploy down the main straight, just so he stays in Bottas's DRS.
Energy if you need it.
I'm not going to tell him to push the tyres, but I will tell him to deploy because I need him to be within a second by the time you get to that first DRS. Because the first DRS line is actually basically straight away around the first corner, so I'm going to get him to deploy down this portion of the lap. Like, it doesn't matter being in DRS on this stretch because it's not active here. But as soon as you get around this corner, it will be. Now, just need you to stay within a second. Well, that's actually, he takes that corner a lot better, apparently. Gained a 1/10 and a half there, so he's got the DRS now. That's kind of the main thing. So I think we can take off ERS now, because that will help him gain that time back up again. So it'll be a lot closer to the rest of the lap than he was before, and he's like within a 1/10 or 2. Whereas he was about 7/10 behind at the beginning of last lap. So I think that works out fine. Magnus has taken Alonso, but that might just be because Alonso wasn't in Ocon's DRS. I can't imagine Magnussen's faster than Alonso in just raw pace, and mixed on the back of this block of 4. Russell's fallen behind Doohan too. And yeah, Alonso's fighting back now, which only allows Albon and Mick to get a little bit closer. But Alonso's going back for now, but that's actually probably bad strategy from Alonso there, because all that allows him to be is the sitting duck on the main straight. When we get there, hang on, sorry, what's happened with Gasly? Is this just false? No, he is 1 second behind. How are you 1 second behind? Did I miss something there? Because you were 2/10 behind at the beginning of that lap. Someone's crashed. It's a safety car. Never mind, stop deploying.
No DRS.
It's kind of really too early to pit anyone.
Safety car.
It's kind of pointless pitting anyone on lap 3. You could go on hards, but you'd have to come back off the hards again at the end, so it's basically pointless. Everyone's too bunched up too. Who's the one that's actually crashed? Is anyone out? Doohan. Oh, God. Is Doohan actually going to finish a race where he qualified? Is he just crashed, or is it Russell going into the back of him again? No, it's just crashing of his own regard. That's what Stroll did in practice. I feel sorry for Doohan. I mean, it's his fault in this particular incident, but I mean, it could have been a failure. You can't tell. But considering the game doesn't do mechanical failures in any regard, so, I mean, the safety car's around the next corner, so I don't think we need to worry about any of this. Like, even because I know normally if you just say conserve and all that jazz, you end up falling back. But I think there's no chance that we don't get caught up here. Everyone is within sort of 20 seconds. So we can use this time to harvest, get caught up on fuel as well.
Got loads of energy.
Yep, but I'm still going to keep him harvest. Is the safety car going to be in this lap, I wonder? I've not seen anything about the safety car coming in. I mean, if the safety car starts running away and I've just missed the message, I might watch from Leclerc's perspective in this respect. The safety car's not pulled away yet, so I don't think it's coming in yet, just yet. No, another lap, it seems. There we go. Now, I'm going to attack for basically the first 2 corners, and that is it. The fuel can stay up for a little bit more. I'm just going to keep the RS on neutral for now, but I will flip it over the second everyone starts driving off. I just don't want him to sort of accidentally deploy whilst they're still in the queue, which might happen. I think that's it. I think that's the run. So deploy on both drivers. Someone went out really wide there. I think that was Perez. Well, there's the safety car gone back in. Mick is still 12th, of course. But he's on the inside of Albon, trying to make a move there. It's just all about getting positions before we run out of tyres again. So it's kind of really only the first 2 corners where people make moves until the final straight again. So it's just push during these 2 sort of 2 or 3 corners, and then we can just go back to normal. We can leave the fuel on. We can leave the RS on normal for the time being.
Yeah, copy.
And then we'll just deploy down the main straight again. Something's happened in Sector 2. Oh, God, there's the Ferrari. That's the leader. That's Leclerc. So the Ferrari leading at this point. What's he done here? Has he just spun it on the exit? Oh, he's sort of
Me, they won't have
oversteered.
expected that.
And now he's got to wait for everyone to go past him. Crawford is saying that may have hurt his overall chances. Well, he is last now, so I suspect it might have. But he's still going. Might have sort of like rear wing damage or something, but he's still going. So that will have provided a nice little buffer. I think Mick still comes in on the same lap, just because that safety car basically counterbalances the overuse we did at the very beginning, and as soon as that ended. So I don't think it affects the pit times, but Mick's up to 10th because of Leclerc. He's also hounding. I might just deploy down the main straight.
Use energy if you need it. Use energy.
I mean, I know Pierre's slightly further up the road, but still behind Bottas. In fact, actually, he's got Hamilton up his backside. It's weird that he's not actually deploying right now, even though I'm telling him to. You think they would, but no. Sort of deploy for these first few corners. Of course, DRS won't be active for another couple of laps again. So who's Mick having a go at? He's having a go at Magnussen, of course, his former teammate there on the inside, as he did George. Although this is actually out of turn 2 towards turn 3 now. No DRS yet, but he is still trying to make this move. He's on the inside. Is there enough tyre wear to keep going in this move? He's going to be on the inside into the next corner as well. It's saying he's already overtaken, but I don't think that's technically over yet. It's not a bad start for Mick, but he does have to come in relatively early. Good work there, Mick. So Mick behind the Alpines now. Still deploying. Don't really need to deploy through this sector. Everyone kind of stays bunched up during this moment anyway. He says, yeah, he is on the back of Bottas. I feel like there's a corner that Pierre got squeezed on still. You know the lap where he was about 2/10 behind, and then by the time we got onto the main straight, it was sort of 1 second and a bit behind. I got a feeling he might have got squeezed somewhere. Whilst that issue's been fixed mostly, I've got a feeling he got squeezed somewhere on this lap, probably into the castle. Because he's holding onto the back of Bottas a lot better on this lap. So it feels weird that he kind of lost a second at one point. Leclerc's already got Tsunoda and Norris. Of course, no DRS yet. And Bottas won't actually have DRS when it comes in. Neither will Alonso, who is the one immediately in front of
DRS is enabled.
Mick. Now, Alonso went walkabout a couple of times in practice as well, so it is a little surprising that Alonso's as slow as he is here. So I do wonder, like Russell, if he's taken some damage that is unfixable before the race. Someone's locked up. That's a new yellow. I can see a crash in the background, and that's a red flag.
Okay.
It's Alfa Romeo too, so it must be Stroll. Ah, I was in the way of that, but now what do you do? We're 10 laps in. The hards cannot go to the end, but you have to go onto them now. Or do you go onto the mediums? I think Mick can do medium without any concern. Because Pierre started on a medium and Mick started on a soft, I think the sensible thing to do is basically invert that and then go on to hards. Or if we can, go on to mediums. Because the problem is I can't set up a strategy at this point. It's a shame he doesn't have 2 sets of mediums left. Because you can definitely do 2 sets of mediums from this point, because it's about 21 laps apiece and there's 41 laps remaining. So Mick will be able to do medium without any issues at this stage. Meanwhile, Mick was pitting off fresh softs around lap 16 probably. So he would have been doing about 35 laps on hard. So the hards cannot do 41. Oh, this is tricky. Anyone who started on the mediums could do soft hard from here. I think no matter what anyone does at this point, there's a pit stop for everyone regardless. No one can get to the end on one set of tyres at this point because the hards won't make it by themselves. I don't think anyone at this point will do a 2-stop either, just because you can. I don't think there's any combination of tyres from this point that will require them to stop it unless they do like soft, medium or something stupid like that. This is like the worst time for a red flag because I'm considering just basically doing the original strategy with Pierre on his best pair of softs and then going on to hards. Of course, the problem is right now we don't have the accurate knowledge on how much tyre wear should have been done because we've already had a safety car. So he saved tyres, and his best pair of softs is still only 8% better to begin with. So I think that would still force him to come in earlier. So is the shout another pair of mediums in case there's another incident and we have to then go on to hards? Because that's also an option, because there could be another incident around the point where we pit for hards anyway, or maybe slightly before we'd want to go onto hards and therefore we'd have to maybe stretch one hard stint. we can go another set of mediums and then go on the hards later on and push them harder. Because I'm not fully convinced, because there's already tyre wear on those softs, we can still get away with soft hard and it not be sketchy with Pierre, because he's not as good on his tyres. I think we'd be able to get away with the Mick, but not with Pierre. So new mediums for Pierre and just mediums for Mick. There's no reason not to do it. And we just run them as long as he possibly can. Unfortunately, it's just where this red flag has happened. I think it's impossible to do softs.
We're set once more. And
I think everyone's gone hards.
this race. And it's lights out.
Everyone's gone hards.
Away we go.
We're doing it the wrong way around to everyone else. I'll be honest, I still like my main criticism of this game is when you're in a red flag, you can't set this information. I had a feeling everyone would switch to hard. I said everyone would switch to hards at this point and go on a fast tyre at the end. It's what I was thinking was going to happen. Mick's got Alonso straight away. Gasly's up to third. Are we going to see any of these replays? I'll just come back now then. I don't think we can drag these out. Actually, that's a valid point. I need to create strategies. See, this is the problem. You absolutely cannot do it with Pierre. So you'd probably sensibly there. Whereas Mick doesn't necessarily need to use another set of hards. Despite the fact apparently it's faster to go on hards, but we kind of know that hards are weird. So I don't trust estimated race times right now. But we've got a strategy in the bag for both now. There's also a ton of extra fuel. I don't know why red flag gives you extra fuel. Because strictly speaking, all you save after a red flag is the lap of fuel that you're already doing. Basically. I don't know why I've got 4 extra kilograms all of a sudden. Because all you gain is the going slowly for the remainder of the lap you're already on.
Aston Martin with a great play there.
We've got a replay. It's not the one I wanted, but it's one later in the lap.
Right, watch this.
I mean, that's the thing though. Schumacher's going to be going wild. And I think just because of the race this is to go, everyone will be doing hard to medium. Because I don't think he can get away with hard to soft at this point. So Mick being on medium might work out for him.
Good job.
As Gasly's going for the race lead at this point, pretty much. He's just taken sights in a position where I wasn't really expecting him to. He's on the outside into the corner where everyone crashes on. I mean, that is a ballsy as anything move. Stroll crashed there in practice. Duran's already crashed there in the race. I mean, there's no point him being on deploy anymore, but and just because I do need to protect these tyres a little bit.
Yeah, take it easy.
Why does Mick's original stint graph go up? Apparently he gained tyre wear after the red flag. I mean, that one makes more sense, but there's a slight uptick there as if it's trying to work out how that happened. Gasly's ahead of Verstappen. So this is Pierre Gasly taking the race lead in the 6th best car. What is wrong with Pierre Gasly? I can't even say his name right. I mean, Crofty says we loved it. I'm just more confused as to how it's possible. Now, I'm not fully certain he'll lose Verstappen as Mick's got Hamilton behind as well. I mean, Mick's on another planet here as well. What in the hell's going on? I know this is mediums versus hards, but what? To be fair, by the time this highlight ends, he's not actually still properly passed. In fact, by the time we come back to this, Hamilton's technically back ahead again, although he has yielded now. Verstappen is currently on the borderline of 9/10 behind Gasly. Just saying, DRS will not be active until next lap. I am willing to deploy with Gasly just to see if he gets outside of a second. Not going to push anything else because I can't touch his tyres at this stage. But I'm happy to use a little bit of DRS to build a bit of a gap up. Because I know as soon as DRS does activate, Sainz and Verstappen flinging past each other will close that gap again. So if you can get a little bit more of a gap, that would be great. And it's apparently the fastest lap. I really should start actually putting in the fastest lap incentive because we are getting it. Not necessarily by the end of the race, but we have acquired it twice by the end of the race. But we have had a fastest lap at any given point in about half the races so far. And I think, see, this is my concern, is them getting DRS. I mean, I don't know if there was even DRS on that particular lap, but they get within a second, and Schumacher's taken Bottas. What is happening? Now, of course, my concern for Pierre is he's the one going on to hards.
they clear
Mick's
it?
doing double
Big move
mediums.
for them.
In fact, by the end of that straight, he's miles off. I mean, the DRS must be active by this point, and I wasn't paying attention. So Mick will have the same pace again on the next stint as everyone else, because everyone else is probably going mediums again. But we probably ought to speed things up a little bit at this point. But by the time... Because my concern is double DRS here. Hamilton's taken Schumacher back. Ah, this is the problem. I was concerned by this. I can't really do much about it because I can't use ERS much. It looks like that might be a three-way fight between Mick, Hamilton and Bottas now. But, yes. Whilst he was able to keep them out of DRS for a couple of laps, the fact that they are slingshotting past each other in 2 DRS zones has cut that to within a second, to a point where he can't get the second back again by the next DRS line. So this will be a three-way fight for the lead. I can't do anything about it. And actually, weirdly, it's kind of happening with Mick, Bottas and Hamilton. Mick by himself is capable of putting out the gap, but every now and then Bottas and Hamilton manage to sort of slingshot past each other, and they close the gap again and get within DRS range of Mick, which is why Mick got taken previously. But Mick got them back and then built up about a 2-second gap, and now it's being closed back up again because they've slingshotted past each other in subsequent DRS zones. And thankfully that time Hamilton's not got past Bottas, so that will save Mick a little bit on that particular run. Gasly's now behind Sainz, but he should have... Yeah, so Gasly didn't have DRS at the beginning, and that straight has got taken by both of them. So this is now both of them get past each other continually, so there's no real point watching these highlights because they'll just be back and forth. And Hamilton's failed to get past Bottas that time again, so Mick will be able to pull out that gap again on this particular lap by a little bit. Although Gasly, on lap 20, Gasly is stuck behind Sainz, and Sainz has fallen off Verstappen. Don't get me wrong, it was nice being in the lead, not expecting it. Thank you for stating the obvious there. Overtaking someone, of course, is going to help him. Might as well rewatch it.
Let's have a look.
I mean, it's a DRS overtake, but nonetheless, it's an overtake. I wonder what happened there. I guess Gasly just got stuck a little bit. Didn't manage to overtake for some reason. Maybe Sainz got squeezed somewhere on the lap, and they lost time sort of together. I think there is a spot on this lap where people can get squeezed out. Leclerc's back up to 12th. And I'll notice. Someone's locked up somewhere. It's sector 2. It's Perez, I think. It's not enough to cause a safety car, it seems. But Mick was the first on scene after Perez. You can see him in the background there, and unfortunately the Merc and the Bottas have got past him, and that's going to require a pit stop and a nose change, but he is going to keep going. Mick's up to 4th. Mick is up to 4th. Although I do think now, with the tyres, I kind of get the feeling the hards might be comparative in their pace. The problem is, of course, we can't really the best thing we can do in terms of working out whether mixed pace is comparative to the hards is find someone who isn't in a DRS of anyone. Russell's not a good marker point. I mean, what did Ocon do last lap? 1:49.5. Mick's done a 1:49.7. Oh, he is slower than Ocon, actually. But then again, Ocon might have slungshot past Alonso because he's done a 1:49.9, so it's hard to tell. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like Verstappen is capable of driving away now. But Gasly's got the DRS back on Sainz here, and he'll just get him straight back again. And yeah, Hamilton took Schumacher, but Schumacher will have DRS on Hamilton on this straight. So, whilst it's not visible, it is there. But unfortunately, he's positioned his car in such a stupid place, it's not going to work out for him. I wonder where the pit stops are coming.
Looks like Aston Martin.
Not far for Gasly to make it work. Now, unfortunately, I think the medium tyres are going off to the point where they are not capable of keeping up with the hards. And Gasly is now within the pit window. So it's 3 laps to go for Gasly. He is 2 seconds off Sainz, but it's 3 laps to go. Attack him. Attack the tyres. I can't do it with Schumacher, of course, because Schumacher's going until basically the tyres are dead. So he's just got to try and hold on as best he can. He has fallen off the back of Hamilton, but he will go on to fresh mediums again. I don't know when this lot are going to come off their hards. If they even will now. But Pierre can push these mediums now, which will help him probably get the interval back a little bit, or very least just not lose as much time. Yeah, Bottas has taken Schumi now. Fortunately, I'm going to just have to leave Mick on his... Oh, hang on. Why has that not immediately popped up with the prompt for him to come in? Oh, he's gone past the pit lane. Gasly, unfortunately, just gone past the pit lane because I didn't get the prompt to pit him. But Gasly's in and out of the pits and behind Alonso, which may not have been a problem otherwise, but it's one more lap between for Mick to come in. To be fair, Gasly should get Alonso relatively easily here. In fact, I could probably deploy for a lap just to make sure he gets past. Oh, he's having to yield still, which is a bit stupid. We'll attack with Mick on this one final lap he's got to do. But this is the lap where he comes in. He's still in 6th. It's not bad. In fact, Gasly's the one directly behind. So let him through without letting anyone else through would be great. It's weird that no one else is pitted. I know they're all on hards, but you'd kind of think they'd get the most out of their mediums. Oh, Gasly's still pushing his tyres, I just realised, but he can kind of do that. And he's done the new fastest lap again. Well, maybe it was worth pushing for a little bit. I've kind of got to also consider the fuel situation soon, because they actually are, they have finally burnt through that extra 4 kilograms. It's taken them 20 odd laps, but they finally burnt through it. You can probably get away with, I don't even really get away with much pushing with me, because I'm just going to tell him not to push straight off the bat. I'd rather have the long-term pace than just one lap of undercut, really. Because I don't think they're coming in anytime soon. They're still on 60-odd%. I think they might actually come in for softs at the end. Those hards have held on a lot better than I was anticipating. Now, Gasly on his newer hards has caught Bottas and Leclerc on their older ones. And he should have DRS once this activates. I don't think Bottas has DRS on Leclerc at this point, so this should be straightforward, provided he sort of positions himself in a way that he can get past, which he hasn't. Why do they not do that properly? Bottas still doesn't have DRS, though, on Leclerc, thankfully. We should get him on the next straight, which is probably actually the better time to do it. Anyway, so maybe that was actually sensible from Pierre, and that's actually properly coded in that respect. I suspect Gasly will be able to get into range of Leclerc, who has made his way up to 4th. In fact, Leclerc's made his way up to 4th without any issues there. He's just driven through the field.
Aston Martin with a great
Yeah,
play there.
the AI are definitely going for a soft run here. But Gasly is a full second faster than anyone other than Verstappen. Verstappen's broken. But yeah, both Gasly and Mick are doing 148.2s right now, and the rest of the field are doing 149.2s or worse. So Mick will be on the back of Vettel within 2 laps, I'd imagine, because he's 2 seconds faster than them at this stage. And yeah, Gasly's within DRS. There's a safety car now. 2 bloody laps. 2 laps after Mick. I mean, Gasly pitted a few laps ago, so it's not too annoying in Gasly's sense. But yeah, it's more annoying for Mick at this point, who only pitted a couple of laps ago. Now, the one thing I am eyeing right now is the fact that Zhou Guanyu is 20 seconds behind Mick. I mean, if anything, actually, this helps Gasly, because there's quite a bit of a gap between Verstappen, Sainz and Hamilton. So it closes that front 5 back up again. And he's on better tyres than all of them. Now, of course, the problem is if those front runners pit. Mick's got a free pit stop. I've seen why it's broken. I reckon that might be why the estimated time thing is a problem. Because I'm comparing the softs to the mediums right now, and it's saying, oh, it's 0.6 of a second faster. I'm comparing the hards, and it's saying it's basically the entire lap faster. 114 seconds faster, which seems wrong. In fact, I think that set might be marginally better. I'm just thinking there's a few laps behind a safety car here. I don't want to screw Mick over. He's still got relatively good medium tyres on, but he's got a free pit stop. Brand new fresh softs do 15, 16 laps, just running normally. We'll be behind a safety car for probably 3 laps. So we'll be racing again on lap 38, let's say. So it'll be 13 laps to go, which is probably about right. Oh, it's exactly the worst lap. If I had a brand new fresh pair of softs, this wouldn't be an argument. I'd be putting him on because he's got the 13 laps to do it. He can do a push lap at the beginning and the end if necessary. But because it's come out basically exactly on the point where these tyres would be an issue, I can't do it. Although I can see if Verstappen Verstappen might have actually just passed the pit lane. It's Ricciardo. We'll have a watch.
What happened there?
Turn 4. I think I've seen someone go off in turn 4, but I've not seen... That was a weird crash. The front 2 haven't come in, which is weird. I mean, that's a great image, really. The front 2 didn't come in and take advantage of the almost free pit stop. I mean, Sainz has almost got a free pit stop there because when you consider the safety car pit times. It's interesting that's the camera angle for Gasly right now. All right, the fact that no one else pitted from the front batch makes me feel a lot safer about Gasly's situation. Where's Mick right now in regards to this pack in the middle? We might get some sense of whether or not some people come in regards to Mick. It's kind of the Alpines I'm staring at this point in time. Because I wonder if everyone else is thinking, or the AI is thinking at least, this safety car might see us get through to the end. Why is Albon on softs all of a sudden? Oh, the tyre visual bug has just helped me out here. Albon's about to pit for softs. I think the mediums will have the advantage over the softs over the remaining time left. You got to bear in mind our best softs are 88%, so they're basically the same. I think by the end of the race, the mediums will be significantly faster than the softs. I'm going to stay out with Mick because Albon's the only one going for it. And there he goes into the pits. Perez is going to do it as well. But he was in the back anyway because he had his own incident. In fact, is that still in the same lap in which Perez had his... They've not put the new wing on. that's within the same lap as Perez's accident. So he was coming in anyway. Guys, I mean, they've just pulled a Valtteri Bottas of Abu Dhabi last year there. They've run out of front wings. Albon came out behind Mick because of the free pit stop, which is the one bit that concerns me. Right, so Gasly is about to catch the queue, so I'll just pop his tyres on conserve now because we don't have any concerns that he's not going to catch it now. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've got any concerns that Mick's not going to catch at this stage, so I'll just put him on everything. And he's going to have to wait for people to get called up anyway, so they don't typically send the safety car in until... Oh, actually, did they fix that? Nope, it's coming in now. The safety car did not... So it actually will be the beginning of lap 38 when it resumes, but I was expecting it to come in on lap 38. So that's kind of annoying, actually. It has left Tsunoda behind, I think. And Perez is, whilst last, I think, lapped. Mick might have a bit of a fielder here, along with Albon. Albon lost 5% on his brand new softs in that one lap he took to get caught up. He's also lapped. See, that's what I was concerned about by the softs. He doesn't have a lot of ERS at this point, but we will deploy.
You can use energy.
Because they're all about to bugger off. And Gasly's in 5th again. But I wonder if they're all going to try and get to the end now. Which puts Gasly in the driving seat. Because he's on much better tyres than any of them. Mick immediately got Vettel. In fact, he got him in such a way that he was actually just perfectly ahead. Gasly's got Leclerc. I didn't actually see this overtake on Vettel. He'd already done by the time, yeah. Through the first corner, and he got enough of a run on him to just pop back in front. We'll take that. I'm not going to actually make him go super aggressive for too long. Mick. We did what Ricardo did, but just less bad. Safety car. It's a virtual safety car. Well, you need a new front wing, don't you? So, I mean, do I even change the tyres at this point? I guess. Might as well. Are there only 3 left? Oh, because there's 2 on the cars already. Yes, I know that. That's why that's happening. There's no point pitting behind the virtual safety car. But Mick's got the pace to kind of keep up. So weirdly, this is going to cost him less time. Yeah, you can't push these tyres though, Mick. Oh, watching Perez go around is just a flashback to Valtteri in Abu Dhabi again. No DRS yet. It will be on the next lap though. So Gasly having a go at Hamilton here. If you could be behind by the detection point, that was poorly planned. Pierre, your racecraft let you down there a little bit. Questionable, but he should get him. But I think the sensible thing to do is actually not push Gasly's tyres and just keep them as pristine as possible. Right, so Schumacher's got Perez at least. What's the gap to Tsunoda? 17 seconds. How held up did you get? I mean, Mick hasn't finished the full lap yet, and he's 14, so he's done the fastest lap. Sorry, hang on. Did he just take that off Gasly? Or did someone else take the fastest lap before him? I'm going to be marginally annoyed if he's just taken the fastest lap off Gasly. That doesn't sound healthy as it drives past. But a lap and a half in and he's 12 seconds behind. He's going to catch Tsunoda in 2 laps. At this rate. Yeah. Gasly got Hamilton and got past him cleanly by the looks of things. And now he's on the back of Sainz. Their hard tyres are done. So this race now becomes, can Gasly get past the 2 hard runners ahead of him? Or, if they pit, will they be able to catch Gasly back up again? It's basically the Alonso situation at the end of the Suzuka Grand Prix in real life, just with non-wet tyres. But Gasly will have DRS here, and hopefully it might be able to get him into the DRS of Verstappen if he can make the pass at the same time, and actually position himself in a useful way, which he hasn't done so far. That's 2 moves by Sainz. That's illegal. But if anything, it's always better to be behind for this one anyway and get him on this lap. Get him on this straight. Sorry. If you'd like to maybe position your car in such a way to get past, that'd be great. What are you doing, Pierre? Next lap, round 2. That's better. Round the outside. Sainz will have DRS back again, but unfortunately he's not going to get closed up on... That's a good point, actually. Deploy on this straight, mate. Keep Sainz behind. Oh, maybe not. At least it cut the gap to Verstappen again. There'll come a point where those hard tyres go off dramatically. Right, it got him properly the next time and got him on the second DRS bit, which is technically the first DRS bit. Mick's already taken Tsunoda. He's closing up on Zhou. Still has the fastest lap. He's going to run out of fuel.
Lift and coast will
and tyres.
Copy.
He might be right, actually. I don't have the proper... Hang on. I could probably just change this, can't I? Okay, he's technically slightly under at this point, but he should get to the end of the race on those softs. The Gasly is now hunting Verstappen. There are 6 laps left. I'll be very surprised if they pit now, although they are on 40%. Albon's up to 6th. I mean, his soft tyre gamble worked. Blimey. A little credit for Albon there. I know he technically gained a place by Mick crashing, but he's actually taken Norris as well in the same process. There's that highlight. What's the gap to Vettel? I mean, what's the gap to points for Mick? There's 6 laps to go, but his tyres will go off. But then again, theirs are all off as well. It's 7 seconds to Vettel, Russell, and Ocon, actually, so they're all in the kind of the same stretch. There's effectively 8 seconds to Ocon, and he has already gained half a second. Can Mick get back into the points? Because whilst Mick's tyres are, 60%, they are going to go off by the end of this. Those hards are on 40% to begin with. And there's Verstappen. No matter how good Max is, his tyres are going. And Gasly is a second faster. And he's got DRS now. In fact, he actually got close enough that... Oh, Sainz pitted. He got close enough that I'm considering he might make a move here. So Sainz has covered himself from Mick Schumacher, weirdly, at that point. Sainz is on the inside of Mick here. Sainz would be obviously a lot faster than Mick, and weirdly might help Mick. Because Sainz will have DRS, I think, straight away. Yeah, so he's got him. But, I mean, if Mick can somehow magically stay within DRS range, at the barest minimum, he will push those cars back. No, he's not going to stay in DRS range. He's on 50% soft tyres. And there's not really much I can do except maybe deploy a little bit.
Use energy.
I can't push the tyres, but I can deploy ERS, but it's a bit of a... Yeah, it's a lost cause in that respect. Yeah, not really worth it. Save that when you actually do need to pass. But back to Gasly as we complete lap 46, and Verstappen is very much in the sights again. I'm very surprised Sainz pitted there. He's got to get through Vettel, Russell, Ocon, Alonso, Magnussen, Bottas, and Albon, and Hamilton, and Leclerc to get back to where he was. Gasly, stay behind, stay behind. Oh, he's behind on the line. He's behind on the line, and he's on the inside of the corner. He's taken Verstappen and got the DRS. That was the perfect move, because now he's got the DRS, he's pulled out,
Aston Martin
basically the full second already.
They've moved up a
And I've smacked that in happiness.
Now look at this. Yeah, Gasly.
We'll watch this beautiful... oh, yeah, we are seeing it from the point where I wanted to see it. I thought we'd seen it from after that. It's one straight looks like another of this track. Oh, you beautiful man, Pierre. Sometimes you get it wrong, but that time you got it spot on. You know what the best thing is? I've actually remembered to come back every single time, pretty much, in this video. And there we are. There's the full second pulled on Verstappen already. Ocon pitted, weirdly. He's gone to the back of the grid. He's got a lot of ground to cover if he wants to reclaim points position within 5 laps. 5 racing laps. I mean, they're not in danger of being lapped, which I suppose is the thing. But Mick is now within 2 and a bit seconds because Sainz has caught Russell. In fact, Vettel got past Russell. Are Vettel's tyres better than Russell's? No. Ah, Magnussen's about to pit by the looks of things because it's done the bug on him. I'm fascinated to see if Ocon can actually do anything in time. At the very least, it might take the fastest lap away from Mick, and I feel slightly less bad about taking it off Gasly. But yeah, Verstappen's a second and a half behind Gasly. He can't make anything work on this straight now. Gasly might have this win, provided there's no incidents. Magnussen and Alonso both pitted. Mick's in Vettel's DRS and in the points. And now we're within 3 laps. I can't see any of these lot pitting. Ocon's tyres are already 83% as well. So if Mick can get Vettel on this next lap, that'll be great. Oh, he's got him already before the straight, so he'll have the DRS on Russell instead.
Looks like Aston Martin have just
who doesn't have it on Sainz? No, he doesn't have it. So this has cut the gap on Russell significantly, so he's within a second again. By the time we get on the next straight, still got the fastest lap, weirdly. I don't know how the Alpines haven't done a faster lap on softs. I don't know how Sainz didn't do a faster lap on softs. Albon's in 3rd, I've just realised. Oh, Gasly with 2 laps to go has a kilogram and a half extra fuel. But yeah, I didn't even see that, so we'll watch that. I was too busy looking at the fuel situation. So it's an inside on Russell. Mix up to 8th again. What could have been if he hadn't crashed? What could have been? But obviously he doesn't get Sainz at this point. I mean, there's 3 laps to go and they're only kind of 5 seconds behind Bottas. Is that doable? I mean, don't forget mixed tyres will go off the cliff as well by that point too. He does have sort of a lap of fuel ERS deployment to use on the final lap. Sainz has done a faster lap finally. Oh, I feel less... Oh, Mick was in the points though. He would have got the fastest lap point. No! I'm actually sad he's lost the point. That's annoying now. And yeah, Gasly's pulled out 4 seconds on Verstappen. Albon might get second. Albon has a straight and a lap to take second off Verstappen. And Sainz has a straight and a lap to do... I kind of don't want to push Gasly at this point. I'm not going to go for a fastest lap with Gasly, even though I kind of know I could. But I don't want to make him drive any more aggressive than he already is, because he's not going to do a faster lap than whatever he's just on softs, is kind of the thing. So, yeah, Mick's well clear. He's not going to catch by us now. I think the problem is his tyres are now doing roughly similar times, but we can deploy with Mick as well.
Use energy if you need.
Just get that extra bit of time. Yeah, what was that last lap for Mick? 1:49.0, Bottas 1:49.3. Yeah, so he's doing similar laps to Bottas now. So we'll take 8th with Mick. It's more than I was expecting when he crashed. We will actually just give Gasly some respect because he is leading this race and about to complete the fight. He's about to lap Perez again, but we'll watch these final few corners. Give Pierre the respect he deserves. What is Pierre doing in this season? What on earth is happening here? This is a race I was not expecting from Pierre. He qualified, what, 8th, 7th? Kind of a normal qualifying, and then the race has fallen into his lap, really. I mean, no worries there. They don't use it on this straight anyway. I mean, Mick got within 3 seconds of Bottas, but it's not enough to have gotten him by the end of the lap, I don't think. No, he's not going to catch him, but there's Pierre Gasly pitching this lap, I just said there. For his 3rd ever race victory, his 2nd for Aston Martin.
First over the line. Let's
We
take a
rewatch
closer
that
look.
because we might as
And
well.
it's a victory for Gasly.
Those are words I like to hear. All right, Karun, that's a lie. I'll get out of Pierre's way. He deserves the full focus. I'm pretty certain for the entirety of the race he wasn't expecting to win it until the end. But Mick will come across the line in 8th, chasing down Bottas, but not quite. 2 seconds to go. If he had a little bit more deployment, he might have got within a second, but not what really happened.
That was great.
But it's points for Mick, and that might be his best finish, actually.
Take
No, I think he got a
one,
7th in the first race, didn't he? It was 6 points in the first race, and he's had 2 singular
lots
points
of
since
pickup.
then, I think. 2 tenths. So 4 more points. It does take Mick into double digits, as far as I'm aware, in terms of points. 25 points for Gasly does somewhat overshadow that. Russell 10th. No points for Alpine again. I don't know what Alpine are doing this season, but they keep dropping the ball quite dramatically. And Sainz only got back up to 5th. So picking him for softs was not the right move. Albon's soft when he pitted was the right move. And Albon's on the... I've just realised what the podium is. It's Gasly, Verstappen and Albon. The podium... Sorry, we just have to wait for Perez to finish here, I've just realised. But I've just realised the podium is Verstappen and the 2 teammates that didn't cut it. Credit to Albon for 3rd. Massive credit for Albon for 3rd there, but all eyes on Pierre.
Well, this weekend, Pierre Gasly
Get a new line,
rose to
Crofty, for the
front.
love of God. He's won a race. Get a different line for that, please.
Everyone involved in Formula One dreams of seeing their
It's quite funny, though.
up there on the podium.
Pierre, the man that replaced him at Red Bull, and the teammate that was alongside both of them. Also, the fact that Albon's in an AlphaTauri now is quite amusing as well. Why is Max attacking our... Why is Pierre there or not attacking our constructor bloke? Oh, there we go.
Enjoy this
What a
moment.
podium that is. Which, of course, as you remember, was Lance Stroll's last race for us last season, so that will effectively make 1 full season for Pierre Gasly for our drivers next race. Yeah, I'm kind of glad that Sainz nicked the fastest lap. It was by a full second as well. It would have been nicer if he kept it, but never mind. Yeah, so Sainz nicked the fastest lap by a full second in the end, so that makes it slightly less annoying, because Mick did, of course, get into the top 10, so he could have got that extra point if he held on to that. But yeah, Alpine mess it up again. No points for them. 2 points for Vettel, though. More points for Haas. Alexander Albon with an ingenious move onto softs at the end. We could have done the same with Mick there, but then if he had done that crash at the same time... Oh, Mick could have been 3rd, though. If we put him on softs and he hadn't pushed and hadn't made that mistake, he could have been 3rd. Oh, okay then. Oh well, he still got points, he still recovered. It's a good drive by Mick. Even better drive from Pierre, of course. No points for Perez in 3rd. Takes Pierre 4th in the Drivers' Championship on the same points as Carlos Sainz and ahead of Carlos Sainz because he has a race win, right? Mick is back up to 12th with those 4 points. Leaves for Esteban Ocon, who for Alpine disappointing this season so far. 2 more points for Vettel, sees him go 16th. And Yuki Tsunoda goes 18th on countback of the 3 drivers with no points. Lance is worst. And Albon, with 15 points, goes 11th. That's significant points for AlphaTauri, who move from the bottom of the grid, the bottom of the constructors, to 8th. Meanwhile, we close the gap on Mercedes to 20 points. 20 points exactly. Which is, we've halved the gap, effectively. It was 40 points before this race, it's 20 points now. We are currently 73 points ahead of what are Alpine doing? And somehow that's still not Gasly's best race result. That might be Mick's best result, points-wise, just because of the fact he's gone through the field twice. 17 successful overtakes for both of them. Just less successful defends is kind of the difference there, and obviously the multiplier. But Mick's got a development point, as you saw there, so will that make him 78 overall? Ollie Colwell's got one too, so we'll just get that out of the way. Oh, he's gone up to 67. Which one is locking up? I'll probably say braking. It does take Mick to 78. Yeah, so improve that. We're just trying to get all those into the 80s at least first. 1 points for both our technical chiefs. We might make another new rear wing next. I don't know. Or another suspension. Our head of aero gets another point from improving one of his positions, and the race engineers are fine. And because we broke several things during the course of that race, so all of the car parts that needed remanufacturing to get us back up to a full stock, or at least a safe level of stock. Howard will be back in time for Canada. For some reason we broke 2 chassis. I don't know when or how that happened. I know we broke 1 in practice. I guess Mick might have broken a chassis when he had his crash, but it didn't seem to be broken in the race at least. So maybe it's just sort of a minor damage that he's just decided, nope, you can't use that chassis anymore now once it's over. That was the other question I wanted to have a look at. The testing period ends after the Canadian Grand Prix, so we'll get to work with new parts after the Canadian Grand Prix. So I will see you for that very, very soon. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. Until next time, ta-ra.